Okay, we are back. I'm back. We continue to part two here of the lamb riding on a royal donkey. Now, my first video covers Genesis chapter 49, 9 through 11, and Zechariah chapter 9, 9 through 13, primarily. And I focus on seeing where we see the lamb, the prophecies. These are prophecies regarding the lamb riding on a donkey, and that donkeys were used by the ruling elite, by the royal households of the kings of Israel in times of peace. So horses were used, but it wasn't, Yah never advocated um, the kings of Israel to actually constantly be riding on horses, but rather be riding on donkeys. And you will see in another text, they actually would ride white donkeys. So to distinguish the difference between who is royalty and, who just had a, regular donkey. Okay. So let's look at some of the requirements that we see that Yah required for any of the kings of Israel to do. All right. So I lay the foundation about the lamb riding on the donkey, the prophecies regarding the lamb riding on the donkey. We're going to get to Matthew chapter 21, verse 1 through 7, where we actually see Yehoshua riding on a donkey, and he actually has another donkey with him, which will fulfill the prophecy, part of the prophecy, really, that I mentioned in Genesis chapter 49, 9 through 11, and Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9 through 13. Okay, this is just fulfillment of part of it. As I said in my other video, one donkey was for him, okay, the king of peace to ride on, and the other donkey was for his queen, the queen of peace to ride on, whose name, and she has many names. You'll see Zion is one of her names. Jerusalem is one of her names as well. Okay, so let's do this. Let's start with the expectations of what's required for a king of Israel. So let's go back to Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14 through 20. And I'll read that for you. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 17, 14 through 20. As I said, I'm using the Hallelujah scriptures this time. I do have my other scriptures. But as I said, it's always good to look at the Hebrew if you have any questions or any doubts about what something is saying, because different translations can leave out important words like and. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and read this. When you come to the land which Jehovah your Elohim is giving you, and shall possess it and dwell in it, and you shall say, let me appoint a king, a sovereign over me, like all the Gentiles, like all the Goyim that are around me. You shall certainly appoint a sovereign, a king over you, whom Jehovah your Elohim shall choose. Appoint a sovereign, a king over you, from among your brothers. You are not allowed to appoint a foreigner over you who is not your brother. Only he is not to increase horses for himself, nor cause the people to return to Mizraim to increase horses. For Jehovah has said to you, do not return that way again. Okay, so the king wasn't supposed to be increased going to Mizraim. Give me more horses, Egypt. Give me more horses, Egypt. You weren't supposed to be doing that. Whatever horses he had was the horses he was supposed to take care of, right? And he is not to increase wives for himself, lest his heart turn away, nor is he to greatly increase silver and gold for himself. So he wasn't supposed to have multiple wives, and he wasn't supposed to have, a bunch of riches. Unfortunately, we know that King Shlomo actually transgressed these commandments, okay, for the king. Verse 18, and it shall be when he sits on the throne of his reign, of his kingdom, that he shall write for himself a copy of this Torah in a book, from the one before the Kohanim, the Levites, okay, from the Levites. Okay, he was supposed to write the Torah. what we call the first 5 books. He's supposed to write the Torah, okay, and probably the prophets and things like that. His own copy. So the king was supposed to know Yah's word for himself. And it shall be with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life, so that he learns to revere Yahuwah his Elohim and guard all his words of this Torah and these laws, and to do them. So that his heart is not lifted up above his brothers, so he doesn't think himself more than he ought to, and so as not to turn aside from the command, right or left, so that he prolongs his days in his kingdom, his reign, he and his children in the midst of Israel. Okay, so we see here that the king was supposed to write the Torah, literally. So if we call ourselves future kings and queens of the kingdom, should we not be applying this ourselves, taking his word and writing it down? Okay, just think about that. That's be a great challenge for all of us. I mean, including for myself. Okay, I mean, there's some chapters I've written down, but not like that. He was supposed to write down the Torah. All right. And I think that's something that we should, I feel really convicted right now. Like, that's what we should be doing in this season, in this hour, in the last days that we're in. A lot of us, Yah has appointed to be future kings and queens in his kingdom. And as royalty, as a royal household, as a royal priesthood, we should be taking Yah's word, not only reading it daily, but we should make a copy. We should write a copy for ourselves. Now, how about that for a challenge? Okay, I'm gonna put myself on that challenge too, y'all. Now, I wonder if I could do it in English or in Hebrew. Okay, that's my question next. Okay, so anyway, but that is something that we should be applying. It says every day, all the days of his life. That means every single day, the king was supposed to know the scriptures, know the Torah. Okay, and we should know that too. Hallelujah. Okay, so we don't lift ourselves and we don't become prideful and think, well, I'm better than, my brethren. No, because Yah was the one who appointed the king. He's the one who appointed the sovereign over Israel. It was Yah's choice of who was going to rule over Israel. So we need to understand he giveth and he taketh away. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14 through 20. So I hope that laid a foundation about what was expected of the king. The king was not supposed to increase horses, but they can have as many donkeys as they want, right? They could have as many donkeys as he wants, because donkeys are very smart. They're smarter than horses, and they're humble, okay? So it's to show that as a king, as a royal priesthood, we're supposed to be humble, all right? That's a sign of true royalty, not what the world portrays as royalty. Let me lord over you. Let me tell you what to do. If you don't, I'm going to, I'm better than you. Low. The royalty in Yah's kingdom is those who are the servant of them all, those who are the most humble of them all. Okay. And that's why the symbol of the donkey represents not only a time of peace, but it also represents humility. That true peace, that true royalty is humble, not like the kings of this world, not like the presidents and prime ministers and other peoples of this world who pride themselves on their royal rich estate, but that rather the kings of the kingdom are those who are servants, of those who are humble. And we need to be that Yah wants us to be. Okay, just like Yehoshua. Let us be like Yehoshua HaMashiach HaNazari. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go look at Matthew chapter 21, verse 1 through 7. Okay, so as I mentioned, donkeys are for a time of peace. We see that in 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 33, Judges chapter 5, verse 10, Judges chapter 10, verse 4, Judges chapter 12, verse 14, 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 1 through 2, and as I mentioned already, Zechariah chapter 9 through 10. Now, horses are used, we see that in the book of Revelation, okay, when it's a time of war, whether it's the enemy warring against us or whether it's Yehoshua warring against the wicked ones, we see horses are used in time of war only. So Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 16, which I already read, Psalms chapter 33, verse 16 through 17, and Isaiah chapter 31, verse 1. So I'm going to read. I just pretty much gave you all these scriptures here. You can go back and look at them. I want to focus on the Gospels to show you the fulfillment of the prophecies that I read in Genesis chapter 49, verse 9 through 11, and Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9 through 10. All right, Matthew chapter 21. So turn with me to Matthew chapter 21, starting at verse 1, because I like to give context. Okay, hold on. 2, 3. All right, Matthew chapter 21. And when they came near to Jerusalem and came to Bethphage, at the Mount of Olives, then Yehoshua sent two Talmudim, okay, two of his disciples, saying unto them, Go into the village opposite you, and straightway you shall find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Loosen and bring to me. And if anyone says whatever to you, you shall say, The Adon needs them, and immediately he shall send them. And all this took place that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the Nabi, saying, Say to the daughter of Zion, See, your sovereign is coming to you, meek, and sitting on a donkey, even a colt, the foal of a donkey. Okay, so remember, it says, sitting on a donkey and upon the colt of the foal of a donkey. Okay. And the Talmudim went, and having done as Yehoshua ordered them, they brought the donkey and the colt and laid their garments on them, and he sat on them. Okay. So you see, these two are mentioned. The donkey and the colt is mentioned in Matthew chapter 21, verse 1 through 7. Now, Luke chapter 19 and John chapter 12 only mentions one donkey. Okay, because it's really focusing on just Yehoshua on the donkey. Okay, but remember, there were still two donkeys there, which one representing what he rides on as king, and one for his future queen. Okay, that's what the other one is for. So Luke chapter 19, verse 28. Start at verse 28. And having said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. And it came to be, when he came near to Bethphage and Bethania, at the mountain of Olives, that he sent two of his Talmudim, saying, Go into the village opposite you, in which as you enter, you shall find a colt tied, on which no one has ever sat. Loosen it and bring it here. And if anyone asks you, why do you loosen it? Thus you shall say unto him, Because the Adon has need of it. And those who were sent went away and found it as he had said to them. And as they loosened the colt, the owners of it said to them, Why do you loosen the colt? And they said, The Adon needs it. So they brought it to Yehoshua, and throwing their garments on the colt, they put Yehoshua on it. And as he went, they were spreading their garments on the way. And as he was coming near, already at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the entire crowd of the Talmudim disciples began to praise Elohim, rejoicing with a loud voice for all the miracles they had seen, saying, Baruch is the King, the sovereign, who is coming in the name of Yahuwah. Peace in the Shemayim and esteem in the highest. And some of the Pharisees from the crowd said to him, Teacher, rebuke your Talmudim. But he answering said to them, I say unto you that if these shall be silent, the stones would cry out. Okay. And let's look at John chapter 12, verse 15, which reads, let's look at verse 14 first. And Yehoshua, having found a young donkey, sat on it, as it has been written, Do not fear, daughter of Zion. See, your king, your sovereign is coming, sitting on the colt of a donkey. And verse 16. And at first his Talmudim did not understand this, But when Yehoshua was esteemed, was glorified, then they remembered that it was written about him and that they had done this to him. Okay? So, one thing I want to focus on here is I got a feeling that maybe the HebrewGospels.com might have this text written a little bit differently. So, bear with me one moment. I'm going to pull this up. I think I can get John. I don't think I can get Luke on the Hebrew Gospels, but I'm sure I can get John pulled up here. So let's see what John chapter 12, verse 15 says in the Hebrew Gospels. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to have to go on mine. I have it saved here, so just bear with me. Let's see, anything else I want to point out here? Okay. So you can see the consistency of the prophecies and the fulfillment of part of those prophecies from what I just read to you. Hold on. Oop, that's all right. I did. Hebrew Gospels. Okay, there it goes. Yes, Yochanan. I can pull up Yochanan here. Okay. And I'm going to do another video on today. Let's see. But this one, as I mentioned, this is a requested video, so I'm just going through the scriptures. And I'm not going to, I already quoted, I'll write down the list of the other scriptures to look at regarding proof that the kings of Israel rode on donkeys. They were supposed to ride on donkeys. Okay. Okay, so John chapter 12, verse 15. In the Hebrew Gospels, it reads, Now Yeshua had found a colt, the foal of a female donkey, and sat on it, as it is written, Do not fear, daughter of Zion. Behold, your king is coming, sitting on a colt, the foal of a female donkey. Okay, so that is exactly what we see here. All right. Okay. So, I'll just go ahead and read just one or two of the texts in the Old Testament, okay, in the Tanakh, where you see royalty actually wearing, not wearing, but riding. Riding on a donkey. Okay, so let me get to it here. First Kings. I'm looking for First Kings. Okay, here's First Kings. First Kings chapter 1, verse 33. Okay, First Kings chapter 1, verse 33 reads as follows. And the sovereign said unto them, Take with you the servants of your master, and you shall have Shlomo, that's Solomon, my son, ride on my mule, okay, ride on his donkey, and take him down to Gihon. Okay, so you see there that King David is commanding his servants to put his son on his royal donkey for a procession to announce the new king of Israel. Okay. And I'll do 2 Samuel as well. 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 1 through 2. And David had passed on a little from the summit and saw Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, whom he met with a couple of saddled donkeys, and on them 200 loaves, and 100 cakes of raisins, and 100 summer fruit, and a skin of wine. And the sovereign, the king, said to Ziba, Why do you have these? And Ziba said, These donkeys are for the sovereign's household to ride on, and the bread and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine for the weary to drink in the wilderness. Okay. Let's pull up some more. There's another one. Let's see, Isaiah. That's for the horses. Like, you don't trust in horses. Don't rely on horses. It says, woe to those who go down to Mizraim. Okay, this is Isaiah chapter 31, verse 1. Woe to those who go down to Mizraim for help and rely on horses, who trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong, but who do not look to the Kodesh one, the Holy One of Israel, nor seek Yehovah. Okay? We're supposed to trust in him, in Yah. Judges, let's see, Judges chapter 12, verse 14. One of the judges had this, verse 14, and he had 40 sons and 30 grandsons who rode on 70 young donkeys, and he ruled Israel 8 years. So that's for one of the judges. Okay. Verse 4 here. As I mentioned, these are, you just look up other verses about donkeys. I mentioned Judges chapter 10, verse 4. About another judge, he had 30 sons who rode on 30 donkeys, and they had 30 towns, which are called Hawath, Yair, to this day, which are in the land of Gilead. This is from the tribe of Manasseh, obviously. Manasseh. Judges chapter 5, verse 10. You who ride on white donkeys, who sit on rich carpets, and you who walk along the way, declare it. Okay, so you can see the rich, the elite of Israel. I'm looking at the cat. Rode on donkeys. Okay, so that's pretty much about it. I hope this was fruitful for anybody who didn't know regarding the importance of donkeys and the use of horses also. Horses were not, Yah was more focused on being about peace than about war. When it's wartime, the horses come out. But for the most part, the kings of Israel were supposed to ride on donkeys to symbolize peace and their humility as kings. They were supposed to symbolize being humble kings and humble royal households. So anyway, I hope this was fruitful. If you have any other questions, please let me know. And with that, I say shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom.